Woohoo! Here we go. Live once again. For once, I didn't go like what, over a month without streaming. This time, it's been just only 2 weeks since my last live stream. Yeah. This live stream almost didn't happen. May as well ramble about something before, people file in. Last night I felt pretty goddamn awful. It's kind of weird. Like I had two classes yesterday, and during like towards the beginning of my second class, the last class for the day, I started to feel really fucking bad. Like I got this really awful headache all of a sudden. My vision was kind of obscured. What I mean by that is, you know how like when you close your eyes, you see colors and sometimes abstract shapes, the latter usually happening when you rub your eyes. That's what I was seeing, but my eyes were open and that was kind of obscuring my vision a bit. And I also felt nauseous. Nothing happened during class or anything. I didn't really feel the nausea until I got home. And that's how I was like for a few hours last night. And then I fell asleep for a little bit, for about an hour and a half, and I felt a little bit better. I feel a lot better today. Um, Not 100% better, but definitely a lot better than how I was last night. And it could be COVID. I don't know. I plan on getting a test after this stream tonight, like probably an hour after I finish this stream or whatever. Anyway, yeah, that's what's been going on with me. There is still only one goddamn person watching this. Wow. Well, if this stream is a fail, then maybe I was better off not streaming today. And of course, before I even started the stream, it was silent outside. And when I start streaming, that is when the fucking construction trucks start making all the fucking noise. It's annoying. Been having to deal with the constant construction at the back of the house. Not even, well, construction going on in the street behind the house for like over a year now. Uh, Damn, is no one interested? Just one person here the entire time. Well, 5 minutes in, so far this stream is a massive failure. Whoa, a second person popped in finally. Been talking to one anonymous person for like 7 minutes now. Back down to one. 10 minutes in, dead chat. Jeez. I don't know what is up today. Usually have at least a few chatters here by now. I've Today has been a slow day. You're telling me. Stream is really goddamn slow. Yeah, I heard something about that, but I didn't really look into it all too much. Isn't it like just the studio that's closing down, but the branding is gonna where the network itself is still gonna exist, but the studio's like being consolidated into within the Warner Brothers animation studio or whatever. But ever since Discovery merged with Warner Brothers, it's been seems like the studio. Yeah, that's what I figured. I read some posts about the whole consolidation thing and kind of ascertained from those posts that it was being consolidated. But I guess it's an end of an era. People are really upset over it. Um, yeah, it's just been bad news after bad news on Warner Brothers is from Warner Brothers ever since they merged with Discovery. Discovery has just been hacking away at Warner Brothers, pretty much destroying the animation front, doing away with HBO Max. But I know for a fact they're gonna, not do anything to their shit like 90 Day Fiance or whatever. That's all gonna be fine, of course. Am I going to get Manhunt? Oh, the video game. I don't know. I haven't never really considering that I completely forgot what Manhunt even was. I haven't been considering getting it. It really sucks that some shows were completely removed from off of HBO Max without notice, such as Summer Camp Island and Infinity Train. Also, a show called Vinyl that I really liked. Watched it last year. That was an HBO original show. It wasn't a one of those Max shows or like Cartoon Network or anything like that. That was an HBO original show that was taken off of HBO Max. So nothing is really safe on that service. And I assume the whole thing with the HBO Max and Discovery's streaming service merging into one is still going to go through fruition next year. Not looking forward to that. Jesus. I don't even know why Discovery feels compelled to just completely destroy the fucking HBO Max platform. Like before they started, all this shit, HBO Max was on its way to being hailed. It was already being praised as like one of the best or the best streaming service out there. I most certainly agreed. And to an extent I still do, mainly for the HBO original shows that because those appeal to me the most. But people were really loving the service. I don't know why they feel the need to just fucking destroy it pretty much. Watched a video last night from a channel called Humanist Report. They talked about Ben Shapiro calling out Candace Owens for defending Kanye West's anti-Semitism. They thought that was a surprise that Ben Shapiro would call out a colleague, but I'm not entirely surprised. I mean, yeah, I never expected Ben Shapiro to call out Candace Owens, someone who was a part of, Daily Wire network, but the dude is also very quick to cry anti-Semitism at like any criticism of Israel's government. Not to say what Kanye West said in his tweets weren't, and not to say what Kanye West said in that tweet wasn't anti-Semitic because it was, but still, I'm not entirely surprised that Ben Shapiro would call out Candace Owens for defending anti-Semitism because yeah, she's pretty known for calling out anti-Semitism. Usually, if someone criticizes Israel's government and is pro-Palestine, usually calls those people anti-Semites. But yeah, considering that he's really quick to call people anti-Semitic, um, doesn't exactly surprise me that he would call out Candace Owens for defending anti-Semitism. Hello, Robert. How are you doing? I hear more people finally gonna come in. I'm reasonably well. I explained this at the beginning of the stream, but no one was here, and no one is still here. But uh, since you asked, I'll explain it again briefly. I was feeling terrible last night, nauseous. Uh, my vision was blurry, and I had a really bad headache. It happened during my last class for the day yesterday. Nothing happened during class. I got home, and that's when the worst of it happened. When the nausea was really bad, and the headache got really bad. I didn't throw up or anything, but I fell asleep for like an hour and a half, and I felt better after that. And I feel a lot better today, but still not 100% better. I plan on getting a COVID test after. Plan on getting a COVID test tonight. Another one. Uh, got one last week. Also, well, 2 weeks ago actually. My uncle had COVID, and I was exposed to him. Yeah, I hope I don't have COVID either, because those are pretty common symptoms of COVID, right? Nausea and headaches. I have a feeling I know how, how this came about, because yesterday I was sitting outside for like an hour in between classes, because I have like 2 hours, nearly 2 hours in between my two classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And I was so fucking hot in the building. They had the heat on, and I also had a jacket on, and I was sweating. So I wanted to sit outside for a while, and I sat outside until I just couldn't take the cold anymore. And that's when I went back in, and I was sitting out there for like a solid hour. So maybe that's where it came from. I don't know. Again, I feel mostly better today compared to last night. Still gonna get tested regardless, because who knows, maybe I do have COVID. I don't know. The scary thing about getting sick these days is you don't know if you have a simple cold or you have COVID, because a simple cold, because this COVID could come in the form of, you know, feeling like you have a simple cold, you know? Not everyone gets the same symptoms, and no one gets COVID as bad as some others may contract it. So, you just never know these days unless you get tested, which again, I plan on doing, because I am responsible, or at least I like to consider myself responsible. Yay, the game I purchased on eBay is shipping. I purchased the Zelda collection on GameCube. I got that mainly just to play Majora's Mask on GameCube. Wanna give that game another go. I didn't entirely get into it when I played it on 3DS, maybe all these years later, because I played the 3DS version around the time it came out, and what was that, back in what, 2014, I think? So it's been 8 years since I played that game, so hopefully it clicks with me a bit better. I'll be playing the original version, though, because the version on the GameCube is just literally a port of the N64 version. No difference, I believe. Hello, Guitar Rocker. How are you doing today? Had COVID in July. It was really nasty. Threw up a few times. My fever was as high as 112. Oh yeah, I also checked my temperature. We have a little gun that you put up to your head, and it tells you your body temperature. Pretty normal. I checked it. I checked my temperature a few right before the stream, actually, like a half hour before I started streaming, and I was like, what, 96.2? That's normal. So I don't have a fever. So hopefully whatever I fucking had last night passed. I didn't have a fever last night either. Just doing a workout at the moment. Maybe I should do that. Billie Eilish is a terrible artist. Titled to that opinion. Just got over COVID, first time I ever got it, and had the worst sore throat ever. Yeah, that's what I hear a lot of people complain about when they get COVID, the sore throat. Uh, yeah, that seems to be, I think, the most common symptom, getting a sore throat. That's what my uncle had when he got it. He also just, in general, it felt like, having a really bad fever. Thankfully, that was the worst of it. He didn't, need to be hospitalized or anything. But he said COVID is no joke. He still felt absolutely miserable. My throat was scratchy when I had COVID too. I don't know if I had COVID, but when I got sick a few weeks back, my throat was sore. It was my first symptom when I was sick. Uh, well, you said he got tested and it came out negative, right? Well, to be absolutely sure, the last time I got tested, I got both the rapid and the PCR. The rapid test you get within, like, I don't know, 15 minutes to a half hour after getting tested. And the PCR is a bit more of a thorough test that you get, I'd say, about 2 to 3 days after you get tested. I got the results of my PCR test, like, 2 days after I got tested. That came out negative. I plan on doing both of those again tonight to make sure, whatever I had last night wasn't COVID. Well, some of the people here, I probably don't know. I gonna explain it a third time, but very brief this time. Last night, I had a really bad headache and I felt nauseous. And I felt like that for a few hours last night. Then I fell asleep, felt better, feel mostly better today. I still feel a bit fatigued. That's also what I felt last night. So just after this stream tonight, I plan on getting tested to see if if I have COVID or not. But if I do test negative again, that's the second time in like a month's time that I had a COVID scare. Took me a week to recover. Maybe you just had a really bad, or maybe you just had a really bad fever or something. God, when I get fevers, I get them bad because I rarely get sick. I have a really strong immune system. So, I don't get sick often, but when I do get sick, it is no fucking joke. God, I think the last time I had a fever was 2019 before the pandemic even started. Yeah, I have to get the I have to get boosted again too. Last time I got the booster was last December. I'm probably gonna do that either this weekend or next weekend. And that's also when I got my last booster before the second booster. Yeah. Oh yeah, the Mario movie trailer or teaser. It's a teaser. Wasn't impressed. A lot of people are saying, "Oh my god, the movie's gonna be so good." Uh, I mean, maybe it'll be good. I can't judge from like what they only gave us like what a minute long teaser so far. I liked Jack Black's voice for Bowser. That was really nice. I didn't even know that was Jack Black at first. Of course, I knew that Jack Black was casted for Bowser, but I was like, that sounds nothing like Jack Black. Did they recast him or something? And I just didn't hear about it. But no, that was Jack Black. I was expecting him to, have the usual Jack Black voice for Bowser, like he does for like every other character he voices in the animated movies. So that was a pleasant surprise. But Chris Pratt as Mario, big fucking no from me. God, you just gave him like it was pretty much Chris Pratt's regular voice, but with like a slight Brooklyn accent, which I thought I thought making Mario sound like Joe Schmo from Brooklyn was something that was left behind in the 90s, but it's back in this movie. I really think they should have gotten Charles Martinet to do the voice in the movie. People say, voicing Mario in a game is completely different to voicing Mario in a movie. And I get that. Of course, he would have to say a lot more than Wahoo and Let's A Go, but the guy is a pretty competent voice actor. I saw clips on Twitter from other roles he did, like some role he did in Skyrim, where he was speaking in full sentences. Sounded absolutely nothing like Mario, but it was pretty good. And he's spoken in full sentences in the Mario voice before, so it's not like he can't do it. I think people who are saying he wouldn't be able to do the movie or he wouldn't be able to voice Mario in the movie because I think he's going to have a little part in the movie. But anyways, people who are saying he wouldn't be able to voice Mario in the movie is severely underrating him as a voice actor or understating him as a voice actor. I think the movie will be good. I think the effects and voice acting are done very well, though Chris Pratt isn't amazing as Mario. I think he's terrible as Mario. That was a complete mistake. I heard there are different dubs of the Mario movie teaser that has that has the voice actor, doing the Mario voice. Yeah, the French one. I didn't watch it, but I hear people say the French one was a lot closer to Mario's actual voice than Chris Pratt. The first Mario game with Charles Martinet as Mario was Mario's Game Gallery on DOS, and Mario talks a lot in the game. Wasn't there also a typing game, some educational game where Mario teaches kids how to type or whatever? He was speaking like full sentences in that too. That was Charles Martinet. I think that game predates Mario 64. I used to think it was Mario 64. That was the first game that had Charles Martinet voicing Mario, but no, it wasn't. I think that typing game also predates Mario 64, but I could be wrong. Hello, Fly by Night. How are you doing today? But yeah, I mean, there's no reason for me to get fired up about the Mario movie though, because I don't plan on seeing it in theaters or anything. Maybe I'll watch it when it's on streaming services, or maybe I'll just pirate it. uh, but no, I'm not like bursting at the seams with excitement to see this movie. Even if the teaser was amazing, I don't really have much of an inclination to watch the movie. Good, I got meditation and jujitsu in 2 hours. Oh, that's neat. When I was a kid, I used to take karate classes. That didn't last very long, though. I really enjoyed going to karate. I even had one of my friends from school going to that very same karate class. It was cool hanging out with him. But I stopped going initially because I broke my ankle. I was a dumbass little kid and was running down the stairs one night, not holding onto the railing, and I fell down and broke my ankle. Was out from school for like a month. And that's what stopped me from going to karate initially, but I just never went back. Mario's Game Gallery came out in 1995, a year before Nintendo 64 and Mario 64. Mario teaches typing, has good voice acting. Yeah, he was speaking in full sentences in that game. It's not like we never heard Mario say anything beyond like 2 words at a time. With Charles Martinet's voice, I should add. Like again, Chris Pratt doesn't even fucking attempt to sound like Mario in the games. He sounds like how one would imagine Mario would sound like before Charles Martinet was voicing Mario. Again, like in the fucking cartoons or in the movie or any other thing where they had Mario speaking before they had Charles Martinet, they made him sound like a fucking guy from Brooklyn, some douchebag from Brooklyn. And also in that CDI game, the same thing. Like, I thought we were past those days of making Mario sound like that, but I guess we're not. I have my third-degree brown belt in Kempo karate. That's cool. Never made it beyond the basic white belt. My cousins did jujitsu to help them lose weight, and it helped them a lot. That's good. Before the pandemic, I was going to the gym a bit, and I was doing that on a weekly basis. And unfortunately, that gym closed down during the pandemic, and now there are no gyms near me. It's unfortunate, but unfortunately, that was far from the only place to have closed down near here due to COVID. But yeah, karate was a lot of fun as a kid. The the instructor was also a really cool guy too. I think right before I broke my ankle, they were gonna do this whole thing like like on a Saturday. They were gonna have all the kids come and we'd watch movies together, hang out. I was really looking forward to that, but again, I broke my ankle before that happened, so unfortunately, I didn't go to that. It's kind of ingrained in me to work out on a regular basis since I've been doing it since I was a teenager. Well, so long as you enjoy it, I don't see any issue. I mean, if if you enjoy working out on a regular basis, then more power to you. But if you feel like it's becoming an intrusion, then yeah, perhaps you should do something about it. There's healthy workouts that you do because you want to do them, and then there's excessively working out, which I don't know if that's what you're alluding to, but yeah, so long as it's just you're doing it on a healthy, regular basis and it's not, a hindrance or anything, then I see no issue. I enjoy long distance running and lifting and light lifts. It helps me a lot. Yeah. Last time I worked out was in gym class in high school when they would make you do push ups and shit. That was like the bane of my existence. Well, no, the worst thing I ever had to do in gym class was that fucking running test, the pacer exam or whatever it was called. That was terrible. Like, here's the thing. I didn't give a fuck by the time I reached like sophomore year of high school, but especially during middle school, I was really afraid of tapping out early because when it comes to the pacer test, you could just stop whenever you feel like it. It's just a test to see how long you can endure running back and forth. It's not like you're required to run a certain amount of times or anything, but in middle school, I would really overexert myself. I'd go to like the 50s before I'd stop because I didn't want to be one of those kids who tapped out before like number 10 or number 20 because I felt that would be embarrassing. And I think it was freshman year of middle school where I really overdid it. Afterwards, I felt nauseous. And I think, yeah, even later on in the day, no one knew that I was the one that threw up. But I left the classroom and I was going to the bathroom because I felt nauseous and ended up throwing up on the fucking stairs. That was during when I was doing after school. I remember I felt better after that, but I remember after we left, we were going down that very same staircase, and kids were freaking out and going like, "Oh my god, there's throw up on the staircase." Yeah, I wonder where that came from. I didn't say anything, of course. There's also another kid on that same day that also overexerted himself. I was friends with him at the time. He had to go home early because he wasn't feeling good. But by the time high school came, I stopped giving a fuck. I would tap out by like number 11 or number 20. That was all I could go up to. There were some kids that made it up to like the hundreds, like 150 or some shit like that. It was fucking crazy. It was kind of fun watching them though because all the kids would be sitting on the sidelines just cheering them on and be like, "Wow, like, there's no way I could be able to do that." Of course, those were the kids that were in the best shape who were able to make it up to those really high numbers. There's a 24-hour fitness that's still open 24/7 I go to that's still operational, but it's 20 minutes from my house. Yeah, for me, that gym I talked about earlier that I was going to for a little bit, that was only like a 5-minute drive, maybe more like a 10-minute drive from my house. It was perfect, but then that place closed down because, you know, for a while all businesses that had people that required people to actually go somewhere were closing down. Or I mean, or had to be closed due to the pandemic. And since businesses like those took the biggest hit during the pandemic, a lot of the places like those closed down. Public places like gyms sucks. I used to love the pacer test because I was a bit of a try hard in middle school. I tried to be the try hard, but it ended up giving me nausea. I made it to like 80 or something in eighth grade. Jesus. Well, I'm sure you're in a lot better shape than I am, so I can see you making it up to those high numbers. I can still hear the voice in my head, the pacer test guy. The fitness gram pacer test is blah 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 blah. It's even on YouTube, I think. Yeah, fitness gram 20-meter pacer test official audio.
The Fitness Gram Pacer test is a multi-stage aerobic capacity test that progressively gets more difficult as it continues. The 20-meter pacer test
Ah,
will
the
begin in
memories are
30
just
seconds.
flowing
Line
in. The
up at
really
the
bad
start.
memories. Never did pacer test in high school, but I was a varsity swimmer and level C CC runner 4 years in high school. That's really cool. Well, I'm sure you would have had no problem doing the pacer test, but for people like me, that test was a fucking nightmare. Oh man, I remember that. They would always play that when we did the pacer test. Yeah, that was the like official pacer test audio or whatever. I like the music it played though. The like groovy, funky music. That's what I liked. After I would be done with the test and be exhausted, I'd sit down and kind of vibe to the music that was playing. Columbine High School. Did you go to Columbine? And to quit cross country because I had a stroke. Oh fuck. I didn't know that. Damn. How was that? How long did it take you to recover from that? Mm, I'm sure a lot of people. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who would make jokes about you going to Columbine, but I'm not one of those people. I'm not really a fan of like the whole, oh, this kid is quiet and sits in the back of the class. He must be a future school shooter. I know it's a joke, but I really don't like those kinds of jokes like at all. Well, for one, I fit that bill because I'm the quiet kid that sits at the back of the class, and I never have any aspirations of doing anything like that. And people have made jokes about that like that about me in the past, and I just kind of brushed it off and just be like, this is fucking stupid. But there are people out there who don't really appreciate those types of jokes. Maybe they have really bad social anxiety and they get real, and, they get made fun of for being that quiet kid that sits at the back of the class that wants to avoid interaction because, again, they have really bad anxiety. It just further stigmatizes people who, aren't very social. And instead of, trying to be inclusive and, being nice to that person, you just make fun of them for it. It was one of the worst experiences of my life. Took me 2 or 3 weeks to recover. Oh, I'm glad you did recover. A lot of people after they have strokes, they're never the same. Like my friend, I don't know how she's like these days, but my friend's aunt had a stroke like a year ago. Again, I don't know what the recovery process was like exactly for her, but that was definitely a scary time for my friend because he was really close to his aunt. But the shooting happened when I was in kindergarten. Yeah, I figured you weren't actually like going to Columbine when the shooting happened. I'm just saying, like in general, I'm sure a lot of people who go to Columbine these days have a lot of jokes thrown at them. My hair looks bad, so flat. Well, this might be gross to admit, but last night I planned on taking a shower after getting back from college, but like I said last night, but felt nauseous and my head was hurting so bad that I just wanted to go to sleep for a bit. So definitely gonna take a shower after this stream, though. You should try to be more encouraging if you want people to be more social, not belittle. Exactly, but dumbass high schoolers will be dumbass high schoolers because that's the huge bulk of these people that are making those types of jokes. You know, Instead of being welcoming to that kid that's quiet and being like, "Oh, you want to talk? You're quiet. You know, trying to be encouraging and trying to be inclusive and trying to make them feel like they're welcomed. You just belittle them more, make jokes at their expense." And in some cases, that is how school shooters are born, socially ostracized, always made fun of. But no, no, a lot of people just don't care. However, though, I was across the street the time the shooting happened. Shit, in a children's tutoring school nearby. That must have been terrible. Well, I don't know if you knew at the time what was going on, but I'm sure, like, for the staff and the parents of the kids going to that tutoring school, that must have been fucking terrifying having a school shooting happen literally across the street. Again, I'm sure the kids probably didn't have the foggiest clue what was going on because they're too little to comprehend something like that. But at the part of the teachers, and again, the parents who knew their kids were, going to a school that is literally across the street from a school that's being shot up. God, that sounds incredibly terrifying. I used to be one of those people, when I was a dumbass, edgy high schooler making jokes about, like school shootings and Columbine and all that. But here's a surefire way to stop making those types of jokes. Listen to the 911 calls that were made from, teachers at Columbine. There was one especially terrifying one. Where a teacher was in the library telling the kids to get down, and then at one point, the shooters, were their names Eric and Dylan, actually came in, and the teacher was like, horrified, of course, because for all she knew, her life was about to end right there. That's kind of what made me realize, yeah, this is really fucking serious, and the joke should not be made at the expense of people who died in school shootings. Speaking of school shootings, Alex Jones has to pay up near $1 billion to the families of Columbine. I'm happy about that. And in Connecticut, there's no cap on how much you have to pay in a civil suit or whatever, like in Texas. Yeah, Sandy Hook. Did I say column? Whatever. Uh, I meant Sandy Hook. Yeah. I'm happy that he's finally facing some consequences for all of the horrible shit he has said in his show in regards to the Sandy Hook victims and the parents of Sandy Hook victims. It's just really nice to see that dude finally get his comeuppance. Such a vile fucking person. People think of him as the funny meme guy because he always freaks out in his fucking shows and whatever. But no, he really is a terrible, terrible person. He was the ringleader of all the Sandy Hook conspiracy theories. Sandy Hook never happened. The parents crying that their children literally just fucking died in a school shooting. They're just crisis actors. It was just a ploy for Obama to take our guns away. And they say this nearly every fucking time a school shooting happens, conveniently under the leadership of a Democratic president. But it just never fucking happens. Their guns aren't taken away. No changes are made to the Second Amendment. There should be some kind of restrictions placed, but nothing ever changes. Everyone always demands for some type of change after a school shooting happens, but nothing ever fucking happens because, this country ultimately does not give a fuck when children are gunned down at their schools, especially Republican politicians. It's well deserved since he destroyed people's lives. The memes of him are really funny, but he's also a disgusting human being. See, I've laughed at some memes made of Alex Jones, but I feel like, those memes kind of paint a different type of picture of him. Like, he's just the funny guy that freaks out in his live shows and, kind of sort of humanize him. I mean, I know there are definitely memes that are, meant to be like derogatory towards him and not flattering at all, but a lot of memes just paint him as the funny guy that screams and shouts a lot. And a lot of people don't really realize how terrible of a person Alex Jones really is because they just see him in those meme clips and, again, just think of him as that funny guy that freaks out. But yeah, Alex Jones is wrecked now. I don't know how he could bounce back from this. Hello, big guy 45s. How you doing today? He's being humanized by Steven Crowder. I saw that Majority Report had showed that in a segment that I watched last night. They were showing Alex Jones's reaction to having to pay up nearly $1 billion to the families. Sandy Hook. It was all just cope. Like every time they'd say like 20 million, 100 million or whatever, Alex Jones would facetiously say yes or shit like that, just pretty much coping. I'm sure deep down he was like, "Oh, fuck. I am definitely fucked." Republicans always blame video games, movies, and music when shootings happen. I remember when Jack Thompson would be would be brought on the news. Yeah, that's always the scapegoat. It's violent video games, violent movies, violent TV shows. Never mind the study after study disproving that, you know, stating there is no correlation at all between violent video games or violent media in general and people becoming violent. I think the worst a study has ever concluded is just that violent video games may increase aggression. That can definitely be a side effect from playing violent video games. I personally never uh, experienced that, but there are probably other people out there who may see an increase in aggression after playing something, like a shooter or whatever, but nothing that ever ties to someone doing something as drastic as going out and shooting up a school or something similarly heinous. Or they blame drugs like weed, ecstasy, and psychedelics. Do people really in 2022, do people really place the blame on weed for school shootings? Not saying you're lying, but Jesus, if there really is, fuck. There was a transphobic doctor that blamed anime for causing children to transition. You reminded me of the immediate reaction from right wingers to the Uvalde shooting a few months ago. They're trying to make up all these fucking disgusting lies about the shooter, saying they were trans, they were an illegal immigrant. None of those things were true at all. But they even went the extra mile to like post pictures of trans people that just vaguely resembled the shooter and say this is the shooter, trying to make the point, that trans people are crazy enough to shoot up schools. It's just fucking disgusting. You know, you would think they would put their stupid culture war bullshit on hold because children fucking died in a school shooting, but no. No, they try to tie in their dumb culture war bullshit with serious issues like that. Not necessarily school shootings, but whenever someone, especially a young person, does something heinous, there's always at least one idiot blaming recreational drugs. Yeah. I'm sure they're like just like a boomer conservative because I think those are the only people these days that are against weed. Well, not exactly. My mom doesn't like weed. She still buys into the gateway drug bullshit and all that. My father is a lot cooler with stuff like that, though. He doesn't. I point blank told him that I've smoked pot, and he's like, he doesn't care. He said if it comes from the earth, it's fine. And also, when we were in Florida, I kind of sort of smoked with him a bit. Don't tell that to my mom. Candace Owens did that. She's a vile human being, and I'm sure she has never apologized for that. Never even acknowledged that after it was proven false that the shooter was a cis, non-illegal immigrant. Well, I don't think he was even an immigrant at all. He was born here. He was a cis U.S. citizen. No, actually, this was her response, wasn't it? She just said, "Oh, I never said they were trans," even though there was literally a fucking tweet of her saying that the shooter was trans. She was still like, "Oh, I never said that. Just ignore that I ever said that." Yeah, I know they want trans people to die. Kanye West and Candace Owens were seen wearing White Lives Matter hoodies. Yeah, I touched up briefly on Kanye's anti-Semitism earlier when no one was watching the stream, but I may as well bring it up again. Um, I was watching a Humanist Report video last night talking about Ben Shapiro actually condemning Candace Owens for defending Kanye West's anti-Semitism. I'm both surprised and not surprised at that. One, I am surprised that he would call out Candace Owens at all, since she's a colleague of his and she works at the Daily Wire, which he owns. But I'm also not surprised because Ben Shapiro is really quick to call out anti Semitism, even when something is not anti Semitism. Like, for example, in the clip Humanist Report brought up, Ben Shapiro said, you know, uh, brought up examples of people platforming anti-Semites, but he's still friends with them because like, he just sees that as a simple disagreement. Like he brought up an example of Joe Rogan having Roger Waters on his show recently, and he said Roger Waters is an anti-Semitic jerk when Roger Waters is a lot of things. He's a Russia stooge and all that. He's part of the Jimmy Dore sphere, but I don't see him as an anti-Semite. He is very staunchly pro-Palestine. He's just very critical of the Israeli government. He has always made the distinction that he doesn't hate Jewish people. He just doesn't like the Israeli government and its treatment of Palestine and the Palestinian people. And Ben Shapiro calls that anti-Semitism because he's a hardcore Zionist. And yeah, so I'm both surprised and not surprised he would call out Candace Owens for that, like half and half. Oh yeah, Kanye was also anti-Semitic, and Candace came to his defense. Yeah, it's fucking pathetic too. She was like, "How is what he said anti-Semitic at all?" And she was like, "You can't even say the word Jewish anymore without people calling you anti-Semitic." He literally said he was gonna go what DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, pretty much meaning that he was gonna hold nothing back and attack Jewish people relentlessly. How could that not be interpreted as anti-Semitic? Like, fucking hell. And then there's also some audio of her saying, like, the only problem with Hitler was that he wanted to have the entire world be German or whatever, and that was the only issue with Hitler. Oh my god. This is what a lot of people she is one of the pundits that so many people in this country fucking listen to. It just hurts my brain. I don't know who Gentrim is. She got so mad when she was called out on that, yeah. She says this all this heinous shit, and then when she gets called out for saying said heinous shit, she gets mad and goes like, "I never said that," even though there is undeniable, irrefutable evidence that I did in fact say that heinous thing you're calling me out for saying. No, I'm just gonna deny it and say I never said it. You're just making shit up. But yeah, Kanye is really going off the deep end. Well, he's been off the deep end for a while now, but it seems like he's just sinking even further down the abyss. I don't know how true this is, but in the same humanist report, he brought up I forget what his actual name is, but he brought up that there are people in Kanye's circles, like people who have worked with him, and Kanye said shit like he loves Hitler. Again, I don't know how true that is, but I would not be surprised at all if that is true, because he Kanye seems to have a tendency of just spouting out the most heinous shit. They'll claim it's out of context, but the full context doesn't make it better most of the time. Yeah, like the Matt Walsh clip where he was talking about impregnating teenage girls. I've seen some people say this is just an out of context clip, and then you listen to it in its full context, and it's arguably even fucking worse. Like I've seen people just clip the part of that clip the part of that video where Matt Walsh defends impregnating teenage girls and says the only problem with the teenage pregnancies are that they're unwed teenage pregnancies. People only clip that part, and then I see Matt Walsh fans say, "Well, you took that out of context. If you listen to the full context, it's not as bad." Then you listen to the full context, and you're like, "Oh shit, this is actually much worse." And now he wants to brand himself as the guy that protects the children from the evil trans community, evil LGBTQ plus community. Yeah, it's all deflection. It's all fucking deflection. But it's really telling of where this country is that a person like Matt Walsh can rise to such prevalence. So many people actually take this guy fucking seriously. It was funny seeing his subreddit get banned, though. I'm sure that totally had nothing to do with his subreddit defending his take of defending or saying that or saying that 16-year-old girls are at their most fertile, and the only problem with 16-year-olds getting pregnant are them not being married. Really just creepy shit. He also wrote a blog post in 2013 mocking a psychologist who found that adolescence ends at 25 and brought up religious institutions that considered you an adult at the ages of 12 and 15. I didn't even hear about that. Holy shit. Like, it's just a constant pattern with this guy. You find clip after clip, post after post of him saying really weird shit about either, prepubescent kids or people just barely starting puberty, saying that these people, people at these ages should get pregnant. They're adults, they're mature enough to be in sexual relationships. Like you find clip after clip, post after post of him saying shit like this. How can you deny that this shit is that this guy is a fucking creep? That this shit isn't creepy at all, you know? Hello, Chris Meanster. Oh, you posted it in the e-drama channel. I didn't see it then. I don't look at everything that's posted in there, especially when everything posted in there for a month straight was about Keffels. Like, I didn't look at the chat all that much during that time. I feel bad for Matt Walsh's kids. He's got kids. I think I heard he has like 6 kids actually. Just got a call from a scam likely. Get those at least once a day. I get those a lot too, but I never answer them. Every time I see a number calling me that I don't recognize, I don't answer it. And if it's a call from someone I might know and they're calling from a number that they don't usually call me from, they usually leave a voicemail saying, "Oh, this is so and so," and then I call them back. But if it's just a random call, like maybe someone dialed me by accident, or again, it's a scam call, then I don't answer it. I violate my kids' consent all the time. Matt Walsh talking about a children's book about consent. Oh God, I remember that. Like, how can you think about how can you think a person who says shit like that? I violate my kids' consent all the time. The only problem with pregnant teenagers are that they're unwed. How can you think a person like that is a person worthy enough to protect the children? Someone who is worthy enough to lead this crusade against the evil trans people who are brainwashing the children. Like, God, again, there's so much shit out there, so much incriminating shit out there, proving without a shadow of a doubt that he is fucking weird when it comes to, adolescent people. But no, no, yeah. I trust him to protect the children totally. Ever thought about trying ecstasy? No. Maybe someday, but I don't plan on trying ecstasy. Like J.K. Rowling is a very left wing, but is ultra conservative when it comes to trans issues. Is she very left wing? I thought she had like other positions these days that are very like conservative that don't have to do with trans people. I got a call from China a while back. I got a call from Africa one time. think Egypt. And Bill Maher is another example. Oh God, Bill Maher. What the fuck happened? I uh, I actually like going back and watching old Bill Maher clips, like from his show, Politically Incorrect or whatever it was called. Mostly like watching when he had Carlin on. That was really good. But now he's like one of those. I don't think he's ever said I left the left, but he's one of those people who are like I'm left wing, but all these crazy Democrats these days are really making me feel ostracized or whatever. During the whole Tulsi Gabbard grift before Tulsi, officially came out uh, as said officially she's leaving the Democratic Party as of a few days ago. He needs to be kept far the fuck away from children. I agree. I think Bill Maher is just a reactionary at this point. He used to be smart, but now he's just a dumbass. I wonder if he's even legit. Like, if this is just a grift or he's just, an old man, just out of touch with the times now. Because a lot of his criticisms of the left seem to be, oh, all these crazy gender identity issues are just weird and I don't get them, and therefore the left is too crazy for me. Could just be him being an old man and refusing to understand the younger generation. Or it could be a grift. My dad fucked with some ecstasy back in the 80s when it was easy to get your hands on pure ecstasy and other drugs, and said it was pretty good. Just got to be careful with it as it can be addictive. That's my problem. That's what deters me away from stuff like ecstasy, addiction. See a guitar rocker. Like I'm most comfortable just smoking some weed every once in a while. Nothing like I don't have much interest in doing like any of the hard stuff. Definitely not opioids like, you know, cocaine and such. And of course, I never have any inclination to try heroin or anything. Like I know firsthand what addiction is like. Not that I know personally what addiction is like, but people in my life, you know, I've seen what it what it's done to them. Speaking of showers, I should really take one. Like I said, I planned on taking one last night, but I felt sick, didn't have the energy, and right now I feel really fucking gross. Definitely before I get my COVID test, I'm gonna take a shower. Though ecstasy is not as addictive as methamphetamines or cocaine opiates, it's best to take ecstasy at a frequency at around 1 to 3 months to let your brain recalibrate itself. Do you take ecstasy? Because you know quite a bit about it. I'm just going to stick with cannabis. Yeah, same. Though I wouldn't. Though maybe someday I'd try like acid or LSD or whatever, or shrooms. But when it comes to like the other stuff, no, I'm not very interested. Like again, hallucinogenics, maybe I'll try someday, but uh, yeah, I don't really plan on, you know, going any farther than just weed because weed is enough for me. When I get high, from just weed, I usually feel at ease. There have been times where, the experience wasn't so pleasurable. Like, for example, one time when I was at a party, I was having a really bad panic attack when uh when smoking, and that wasn't very fun. But for the most part, I don't have much of a problem. It's just sometimes you have a different experience, At least for me. Like I'd say 98% of the time I have a positive experience with weed, but there are those outliers. There are those instances where, I get, or it kind of shoots my anxiety up and kind of has the opposite effect of what I usually feel. Again, usually I feel at ease and, my anxiety is like at a flat line, but sometimes it does exacerbate the anxiety. There's a drug called atorphine that's so potent that 1/100th of a gram can knock out an elephant. Wow. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who would love to get their hands on that. Well, the closest I've ever been to like my only experience with methamphetamines are it's just watching Breaking Bad. Yeah, I was anxious before taking the hit because sometimes your emotions before you take something can affect your experience. Yeah, I think I was having some particularly like, rough days, those times when I did feel even worse after getting high. I think those were days where my anxiety was, worse than it usually is. So that's probably it. Because usually, if I do experience those days, it must have been worse than it usually is. Because usually, if I do feel anxious prior to getting high, I usually mellow out, and you know, again, the anxiety just kind of washes away for a bit. But those couple of times, yeah, it was definitely pretty bad, and maybe I was feeling particularly anxious on those days. Probably. Used to have this blue ice pack in middle school, and a kid freaks out that and thought it was blue meth. That's funny. I jokingly told him I was helping Walter White smuggle drugs into the school, and he started crying and told the principal, "What did he think Walter White was real?" "You should end the war on drugs." I agree. Hell, I think we should legalize all drugs. I think it is stupid to imprison someone for choosing to put a substance into their body and their body alone. It's a different story if they're forcing said substances into someone else's body. That's a completely different matter. But when it comes to one wanting to do drugs, even hard drugs, even really dangerous drugs, such as heroin or meth, I say let them have resources open for them to receive rehabilitation if they choose to, but don't imprison them for simply owning these drugs because I don't see any issue. I see drug use as a victimless crime because the people who use drugs voluntarily use drugs. They want to put that shit into their body. Do I agree with putting shit like heroin and meth into your body? No, and I personally wouldn't do that, but I don't want these people to receive jail time just for putting substances into their own bodies. It is dumb. I don't see the point. I never saw the point in criminalizing drugs or throwing people in prison for simply possessing drugs or making drugs. I mean, simply making drugs I'm not have a problem with, shit like gang wars and cartels and all that. And yeah, I don't don't want any of that in the world. But I think legalizing drugs definitely weakens shit like cartels and such and gang violence because a lot of that revolves around drugs and selling drugs. Legalizing all drugs for recreational drug use would probably do more to end the opioid epidemic more than prohibition ever could. Oh yeah, definitely. Prohibition just doesn't work. Look at 100 years ago when the United States tried to ban alcohol. Look at how successfully that went. Not at all. Not successful at all. Maybe I should make a video about that someday. I don't think I've ever made a video talking about legalizing drugs. I've certainly made videos about legalizing weed nationwide, but like I don't think I've ever made a video talking about legalizing hard drugs though. I just really don't see the issue. Like, I remember having this stupid fucking retort said to me because I said to, like, a real life friend once that we should legalize all drugs, not just weed, and they were like, "Well, what if someone drives while high or something, while high on meth or high on heroin?" 1, we already have that with these drugs being completely illegal. 2, people do that with alcohol, you know? And we're not calling out in mass to ban alcohol. We already seen what it was like to ban alcohol, or at least, we can look back in history and see how much of a failure that was, you know? That is completely that is completely at the fault of the person who is using the drugs. They're irresponsible. They went behind the wheel while under the influence. That is not at the fault of everyone else who uses those drugs and chooses not to go behind the wheel. Same thing with alcohol. I don't really give a shit about opiates, and my brother's death really put me off of ever trying them, but legalizing all drugs would create better education around them and could have saved him and others. Possibly, yeah. We shouldn't be fucking throwing these people in prisons, you know? That doesn't help them at all. It just further stigmatizes drug users and, continues to make them a part of, make them a sector of society that people don't want anything to do with. They just see drug addicts as just, trashy and people you don't want to associate with at all. When a mentality like that does nothing to fucking help these people at all. There's always going to be people who want to shoot weird shit up their arm, so we may as well encourage people who do shit like that to do so responsibly. Of course. I say if you want to do drugs, go for it. I'm not gonna sit there and pretend like, especially if it's like a friend of mine or a family member, I'm not gonna sit there and pretend that I like them doing hard drugs, but I don't believe they should be thrown in prison for simply doing said hard drugs. Because ultimately that is at their own volition. They chose to put that stuff into their body. Did anyone miss me? No, I just made a cringy return, didn't I? All right. I don't know what you're going on about there. But anyways, yeah, legalize all drugs. That is Especially, imagine all the businesses that could create too. It'd be a huge boom for the economy. We're already seeing that with weed, all the businesses that are popping up after weed is legalized in certain states. What do you think about making all medical drugs and pharmacies over the counter? I don't know much. I'm not gonna comment on that because the stuff like the pharmaceutical industry, I'm not the most well read on. Weed is 100% legal here in Colorado. Same thing here in New York as of last year. It was long overdue in this state. It's funny, New York is seen as one of the deepest blue states in this country, yet it took so fucking long for weed to be legalized here. God, I remember reading an article a few years ago about Andrew Cuomo. Fuck that guy, by the way. Fucking creep. Anyway, Andrew Cuomo said something like, "As long as I'm governor, weed will never be legalized here." And yeah, well, weed became fully legal when he was still governor here, so that aged well. No, I have not seen the Super Mario Bros. Movie because the movie is not out yet. I assume you mean the teaser. And I talked a bit about the teaser earlier, and yeah, I'm not very impressed with the movie. But like I said earlier, Chris Pratt as Mario, double thumbs down from me. No, it's a sideways thumbs down. Yeah, that's what I think about Chris Pratt as Mario. Damn, it's already an hour and a half since I started streaming. Fuck. I thought for sure I would end the stream at like the hour mark because the first like 20 minutes of the stream, no one was saying anything. But here I am, still here, actually having fun talking about drugs and legalizing drugs. So cool. Thoughts on Jack Black as Bowser? That was probably the only thing I liked about the teaser, admittedly. Like I said earlier, I didn't even know that was Jack Black at first. It sounded so different. I thought maybe they recasted Jack Black, and I didn't hear about them recasting Jack Black because I don't really keep up at all with the latest Mario movie news because I don't really have much interest in seeing it. But no, he did a really good job. Sounds nothing like him. I thought he was gonna do like the usual Jack Black voice for Bowser, but no, I'm actually pretty happy about that. He gave it his all, and yeah, I'm sure he'll do really good as Bowser if that little snippet in the teaser is anything to go by. But yeah, Chris Pratt, no. Any opportunity to dunk on Chris Pratt's Mario voice, I will lunge at. Well, I'll be visiting New Orleans in 2 days, and weed over there is only medicinal. I'm pretty sure before the full legalization here in New York, weed was only legal uh, in the sense that you could only use it as a medicinal drug, but people smoked it here anyway. It was decriminalized here for a long time. It wasn't like you're going to get arrested for, smoking pot or anything. So for a long time, it's been pretty much legal here in New York. You could smoke pot and no one would give a shit. You won't get arrested for it. It was technically illegal, but it was something that the cops didn't really prioritize or anything. But yeah, it was only like officially made legal last year. GTA 6 gameplay was leaked, I believe, a month ago. I don't know if any of you heard. Well, I certainly heard about that. That was like the biggest gaming news of last month. Has it already been a month since that happened? Wow. Wasn't the leaker who did that like 17 or some shit? Blunt Force sounds like a perfect brand name for weed. Sounds like a good band name too. I wonder if Mario sees crazy shit when he eats his shrooms. Yeah, there's shrooms, there's pipes, all of that shit in Mario. I always wondered if that was all like supposed to allude to drug use. Probably not, but still funny to think of anyway. My dad did DMT once in the early 2000s, and he said he saw some insane shit. It was crazy rainbow people and dogs chasing him, also aliens. Yeah, I heard DMT is something else. I mean, I've heard people have had their lives changed from, trips on while on hallucinogenics. Maybe I would have that life altering experience too, where like my perspective is completely changed. And, I don't know. Hey, gotta charge my laptop. Nintendo 64 shirt, even though I've never owned a Nintendo 64. And no, I don't have a GameCube shirt, surprisingly. I would like to get one someday, though. You'd experience ego death and see the world in a different light. That sounds nice. Seeing everything in a new perspective. That sounds really nice. Seen a lot of far right drug users. Yeah, I mean, even among the right wing, legalizing weed isn't a very popular position. Like I said earlier, it's really only popular with the boomer right wingers these days. You know, the whole weed is a gateway drug bullshit. You only see people like that. You only see like 70-year-olds on Fox News say shit like that anymore. And with Biden pardoning people who were convicted for possessing weed on a federal level, might I add. Even that was popular among conservatives. So weed is pretty much an open and shut case at this point, or an issue that is said and done, in the sense that people don't give a shit about it anymore. People know that weed isn't a gateway drug, it isn't harmful, you know? It is an overwhelmingly popular position among both the left and the right that weed should be legalized nationwide. And that we have these fucking 80-year-olds in government still believing that weed is a gateway drug. We gotta restrict the usage of weed. As long as those people are still in power, we're probably not going to see a nationwide. Uh, we're probably not going to see weed legalization on a nationwide level. Hopefully, it happens within the next decade, though, when these people start to fucking die off finally. He also said Africa by Toto was playing in the background as he was riding on an alien ship. I never cared for that song. Not even the Weezer cover of that song either. That was overplayed to fucking death a few years ago, but I never liked that song, Africa by Toto. My uncle loves that song, but I don't. Yes, he still listens to Kate Bush, in case any of you are wondering. I've been hearing rumors about Chris Pratt as Mario fired, replacing him with the original voice actor for Mario. That's probably bullshit, but if it was true, then good. I applaud that. I'd imagine there's a fair amount of people on the libertarian right who support legalizing drugs. Oh, I'm sure it is overwhelmingly popular among libertarians. As ass backwards as their worldviews are, they're definitely right when it comes to legalizing weed. That's pretty much a huge sentiment among libertarians. But even like for pardoning people who were charged with possession of marijuana, again on a federal level. I know it probably doesn't go far enough. People are saying a lot of people get charged on a state level for weed possession. That is definitely true, but I still think this is a step in the right direction. And Biden said he wants to have weed brought down to a Title I drug, I believe. And that is definitely great. Hopefully these are the necessary steps to eventually legalizing weed nationwide, because it is ridiculous to be in the year 2022 and still not seeing every state in this country have weed be fully legalized. There's a guy on YouTube who's listening to Africa by Toto every day for a decade. Must be a really sad life then. I'm glad I don't hear the Weezer cover of Africa anymore when I go to the store or on the radio. God, like 3 years ago, I think that shit was playing everywhere. At least where I am. Like I would go to the local Target and they'd be playing that fucking song a lot. It seemed like every time I would go there, that song would be playing. And my mom likes listening to the alternative station in the car. That shit plays a lot on that station too, or at least at the time it played a lot. That station does play Weezer a lot, but it plays, all my favorite songs a lot now, which is a really good song, so I don't mind hearing that. Legalizing all drugs would free up a lot of space in prisons and would be good for the economy. Absolutely. Absolutely. Those are the two major reasons why I want to see weed be legalized. And on top of that, of course, my philosophy is if you want to put a substance into your own body, that is completely your own choice. Even if it leads to addiction and eventual death, that is your choice. So yeah, drugs are pretty pog. Well, not all drugs are pog. Some of them are actually pretty fucking dangerous, but legalizing them, I should say, is pretty pog. Remember that picture of you when you were stoned out with your eyes rolled back? Yeah, I remember that picture. I don't know if it's still an emoji in my server. I might have gotten rid of that. I got rid of a lot of the old in-joke emojis a long time ago because they weren't really, no one was using them anymore. So I didn't see any point in, having that take up space. But maybe I still have that. Maybe I don't. I don't know. Oh, wait, I do. Yeah. That was mostly just me being funny, though. I was high when I took that picture, but, being high wasn't the cause of me taking that picture. I was just like, I think I sent that to like a group chat or whatever among my friends, and I was like, "Oh, this weed is really good, man." Took that picture. Weirdest song I heard in a while is 18 Naked Cowboys Crap from Ram Ranch. Yeah, even the title is enough to make me stay away from that song. I heard about this weird drink from the Middle East under the brand name Uranium, which is a combination of morphine and THC called endomorphine. Hmm. I don't know if I'd want to ingest uranium. Thoughts on EDP being successful? Is he? I mean, what has he been up to? Last I heard, he made another YouTube channel like a few months ago, and it got terminated within like a few days or a week. I don't know if he's still on TikTok. I heard he's actually pretty big there, or was pretty big. Again, I don't know if TikTok finally shit canned him off the site or not. Hopefully they did. Wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. But yeah, I don't think that guy is a success by any stretch of the imagination. Especially after he got caught, trying to have sex with a 13-year-old girl. Or someone who we thought was a 13-year-old girl, I should say. That's a scary thing. It could have well have been a 13-year-old girl. No doubt in my mind that EDP has some deeply rooted neurological issues. Nobody with a normally wired brain would be this prideful after being accused and caught doing such heinous shit. Yeah, there's definitely something wrong up there. There's definitely something loose in his brain. I have never, ever seen someone act like he did after he got exposed. Usually you get the usual tearful YouTuber apology, like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll never do this again. I perfectly understand why you hate me." You usually get that response after a YouTuber does something awful, or they just drop off the face of the planet. You never hear from them again. That's also a usual response after a YouTuber does something awful. They just disappear and you don't hear from them again, which is preferably what EDP should have done, which is what I would have preferred EDP would have done, I should say. But no, he feels no remorse at all. That's kind of shocking. Well, no, I'm sure most people who would actually go to get to the point where they would willingly have sex with a minor. I'm sure most people don't feel remorse for their actions at all. But at the very least, I would have expected him to pretend to feel remorse to try to win people back. But no, he's like, "I'm EDP. I'm amazing. My fans, the EDP army will live on," or whatever the fuck. I don't think someone like that could be rehabilitated or saved. I say we should probably keep those kinds of people away from society. EDP is only sorry after he got caught. Unforgivable apology. End of discussion. Well, I mean, he didn't really apologize, did he? Those are the kind of people I think prison should be reserved for, not drug users or people who committed petty crimes. Well, I'm definitely a firm believer in rehabilitation over prison, but if someone was shown to have no remorse for their actions and seems like someone who would definitely do what they did again if they were to be put back into society, then I say, yeah, they should definitely be separated from the rest of society. Not sure if we should necessarily keep the prison system, but definitely have something in place to keep people who show no signs of rehabilitating. You know, should definitely have a way to keep. We should definitely have some kind of system to keep people who show no signs of rehabilitating. Back in society. We're keeping those people out of society. Remember 2 years ago, one of the YouTubers in the NASCAR community I looked up to goes by the name NASCAR, who was caught sexting with a minor. When he got exposed, he drove off from existence. That's what I think all these people who get caught doing this shit should do. Just fade away. Just never hear from those people again. For the record, I don't disagree that the current prison system should be revamped. Just think that prison should be reserved for people who committed heinous crimes and show no signs of changing. Yeah, I agree. We should definitely keep those people out of society. I just think, the prison system we have should be completely revamped, but we're probably not going to see something like that happen anytime soon in this country or ever in this country so long as we have the United States, as it is. Yeah, he did get life in prison. I'm fine with that. Serves him right. Let him fucking rot in prison. I think someone who does something as heinous as shooting up a school is probably beyond rehabilitation. Maybe there's some outlier cases, but I don't know. He's kind of a rare example. He's kind of a rare case, Nicholas Cruz, because like usually 9 times out of 10, when someone goes and shoots up a school, they either die by suicide or they get gunned down by police. They don't usually get taken into custody. So we don't really we don't really know much about the psyche of school shooters because usually they're not alive to tell to talk about stuff like that. I know he's old news, but I still wonder if OBA will return to YouTube. Who fucking knows? I know his probation was supposed to end this year. I don't know if it is over right now or if he violated parole and got his parole extended, or not parole. He violated his probation and got his probation extended, and or maybe he just has or maybe he's still on probation. Maybe it ends at the end of the year. I don't know. I don't think a definitive date was ever given for when his probation would be over. Or for all we know, he is out. He's a free man, not under probation anymore. Can use the internet, but he just has no interest in ever returning to his channel because he knows that everyone who watched him back in the day knows that he had an obscene amount of child pornography. School shooting is the worst thing to go through and experience. Glad I didn't get to experience it when I was a high school student, but damn, Salvador Ramos was the worst of all with the Uvalde shooting. Yeah, the Uvalde shooting I think was actually the worst or does Columbine still have it beat? I don't remember, but I think the Uvalde shooter actually topped Columbine. Yeah, that's something I'm very glad I never experienced either. One time, my school did actually get a threat from a student saying they're going to shoot it up. They posted it onto Snapchat, but thankfully, other students saw that and reported it to authorities, and that was taken care of. Who knows if that was just, a threat they would never go through, or if they're actually going to go through it. I don't know, and I'm glad I never found out. Thankfully, that was taken care of relatively quickly. They probably suffer from psychopathy, which is a congenital condition and with someone is born with. It's rare, but it does happen. Yeah, I know. I know. I know. I still remember the video where he threatened to bash the news reporter's teeth in. Yeah, classic OBA moment. That proved without a shadow of a doubt that he wasn't playing a character in his videos. I remember he used to say that. And some people who liked OBA at the time, back when I was doing all those OBA videos, would say, "Oh, he's just playing a character. He's just exaggerating. You're stupid for taking him seriously. You're stupid for taking the threats he says in his videos seriously because it's all just exaggeration. He admits it's all exaggeration. Yet here he is in this video where he's in front of the courthouse, not on his channel, uh, a camera guy is filming him or a news reporter or whatever is filming him, and then he says he's going to kick their teeth in. I don't think he was playing a character there. He would have no reason to play a character there. The Virginia Tech school shooting is still the deadliest shooting. Oh, really? I thought Columbine was the worst. Or Sandy Hook. I remember when he threatened to rape a child to the point where his dick would come out of his mouth. Yeah, that definitely some screwed loose there. Yeah, definitely. I mean, now that I'm older and not a child watching his videos, I can see that, there are definitely some psychological issues going on inside of his head. Watching those old videos and how he would react to getting banned off of what was essentially a children's social media website. Can't wait, and I'm very curious for the worst YouTubers of 2022. Yeah, I'm not finished with that list, actually. I think I have like 9 people uh, on that list for this year. And one of those people I'm kind of iffy on. I might take them out, replace them with someone else. It's definitely not finished yet. Hopefully, it is finished by December, though. It would have to be finished by December. Actually, most years, December creeps around and I'm not done with the list, and I'm like, fuck, what am I gonna do? And then all of a sudden, by like the end of the year, a YouTuber does something absolutely awful and fills a space in that list, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Thank you, YouTuber, for coming in clutch and doing something terrible. No, not really. But yeah, that's definitely happened though. What made you change one of your playlist names to Prawn Rants? I noticed a few hours ago. I actually did that like months ago, or maybe even a year ago. I changed the name to all. I changed the titles to all of those videos and the title of that playlist just to avoid YouTube ever taking down those videos someday. I even took out all the tags from those old videos because the tags would say shit like porn in them. And YouTube these days is really strict against you. I notice YouTube is really strict against videos with titles with titles that have words like porn in them. Like for example, Review Tech USA just recently had a video taken down for linking a source that I guess contained a link somewhere within the article to porn or whatever, and he wasn't aware of that, and the video got taken down. So yeah, I don't really want to fuck with that anymore. That wasn't the reason I ended the series because, like I've said, I don't really watch porn anymore. But shit like that is also a reason to end the series. Did you hear about the preschool shooting in Thailand a few days ago? 28 children died by the hands of a crazed shooter who's still at large. Holy shit, I didn't. Fuck. That's terrible. I don't know what the pink sauce situation is. Who is that? Or what is that? Oh god, I really needed to let that out. That was just building up inside of me for a long time. I heard Queen released a new song, but I haven't listened to it yet. But anyway, gonna end the stream now. 2 hours and 6 minutes. That's usually around the time I end these streams. Really fun stream actually. For like the first 20 minutes, this stream was an absolute fail, and no one was saying anything. But thankfully, people came in, and I ended up having a fun time talking about drugs of all things. But yeah, thank you all for being here, and thank you all to those who were here before but are not here now. Always appreciate when people come in and interact with me on these streams. You all make it very fun, and you're all the reason why I even do these streams and in the first place. So yeah, anyways, see you whenever I upload a new video. Maybe sometime next week. I don't know. I don't really have time to make videos these days with classes and all. Anyway, see ya.